uninstall and prevent Snap from working on Ubuntu and similar systems. Slow performance and privacy concerns are the main reasons. Here's how you can get rid of the Canonical store: add Flatpak to the software center if needed, and install Firefox using a deb file. You'll need to use the terminal, but the steps are easy to follow. Some people who use Ubuntu and similar systems, official and unofficial, are unhappy about their operating system relying more and more on the Snap format. Let's see what happens when you try to install the open-source Chromium browser from the Ubuntu repositories using apt. Instead of the version you need, it installs the Snap version. Even if your system doesn't come with Snap, you might end up connected to this store without any warning. Removing all the snaps in the store itself doesn't guarantee it won't be installed again without your knowledge. Certain Ubuntu-based distros, like Linux Mint, Bodhi Linux, Elementary OS, and Pop OS, don't include Snap, and the first two also prevent its installation. We'll learn how to check our system, add support for the alternative Flatpak format to the software center, if it's not there already, install Firefox as an alternative to Snap, and then delete each Snap program, the Canonical store, and block its future installation. I want to be clear that my guide on getting rid of Snap from Ubuntu or other Linux systems is not telling you to do it. It's simpler and easier to switch to a different operating system. I've tested everything, and it seems to work fine. However, I can't promise it will be trouble-free in the future. Removing a feature that's becoming more important to Canonical might cause issues with future versions of Ubuntu-based systems that use Snap. There could be an easy solution to handle most of the work for removing and blocking snaps. The Unsnap program is supposed to check snaps on your system, install Flatpak alternatives, if available, and then remove the Snap store. Unfortunately, I found it's not very reliable. It's not up to date and doesn't work with Ubuntu. I spent a lot of time on it, and I don't recommend using it. However, through research and testing, I found a set of steps to get rid of Snap and prevent it from being accidentally installed from Ubuntu repositories. Before making any changes, if you're unsure about your operating system's situation, here's a quick way to check. Open a terminal window and type snap list. If Snap is installed, you'll see a list of installed programs in a certain format. If you instead see command snap not found, it means Snap is not installed. Great! You can skip directly to the steps to block the Snap store. Now, regarding Flatpak support, starting from Ubuntu 23.04, it's not included in all the official flavors. Officially, this change caused confusion among users, but in reality, it seems designed to encourage the use of Snap. If you're unsure whether you have Flatpak support, open the terminal and type Flatpak version. Just like before, if the response is command Flatpak not found, you need to add it. Otherwise, if you see the Flatpak version, you're good to go and don't need to do anything. You can start removing and blocking the installed snaps. To do this properly, simply uninstalling the Snapd package isn't enough because it won't remove the snaps connected to the store mechanism. Open a terminal window and type snap list. To remove each snap, use the command sudo snap remove software. You need root privileges, so you could also use snap remove without sudo, but then you'd have to type the password each time. I recommend removing Firefox and other Snap programs first, then proceeding with the other removals. Here's the process. First, uninstall Firefox and any other programs you installed in Snap format. Then, remove the GTK libraries. Remove GNOME desktop environment. Remove desktop integration files. Finally, remove Snap Store. Remove Core 20 and Core 22. Remove Bear. Remove Snapd. After completing the removal operations, double-check with the command snap list. Ensure that all the snaps have been removed before proceeding further. All snap programs are gone, but snap services are still around, using up resources. It's a good idea to stop and disable them to avoid automatic updates causing issues. Stop the snap service with the following command: sudo systemctl stop snapd. Deactivate it with the following command: sudo systemctl disable snapd. Now, let's uninstall Snapd and remove its configuration files using the apt-purge command, sudo apt-purge y-snapd. This not only uninstalls the program but also removes configurations. Snapd and other system files are now deleted. You can delete the snap folder inside the user's home using the File Manager's delete option. Alternatively, you can use this command in the terminal, rmrf home user snap. This clears out any leftovers, but keep in mind that these residues usually don't cause problems or take up much space. If you want to enable Flatpak support in an Ubuntu-based Linux system that doesn't have it, just use this command, sudo apt install Flatpak GNOME software plugin Flatpak. For systems with the KDE Plasma desktop environment, like Ubuntu, sudo apt install Flatpak Plasma Discover Back and Flatpak. In both cases, this command not only installs support for Flatpak but also brings in an alternative version of the Ubuntu Software Center and integrates it into Plasma Discover. This way, you can access both deb files from the repositories and all the Flatpaks. You can install them with just a click instead of using the command line. Remove the GNOME software plugin Snap to prevent the integration of Snap programs into the Flathub store. However, before installing a Flatpak, you need to connect to one of its repositories. Flathub is the most well-known and has a wide range of applications. Here's the command to copy and paste into the terminal. After doing this, you might need to restart your system or just log out. For a smoother integration of Firefox in deb format on Ubuntu and related systems like Linux Mint or Pop! OS, which don't build Firefox themselves, you can use the Mozilla PPA on Launchpad. Use the following command to install the latest Firefox version with apt, specifying the Mozilla PPA as the source. After installation, open the menu, type Firefox, and right-click Add to Favorites to put it in the dock. Note that using Mozilla PPAs won't give you automatic updates for Firefox. If you want this, copy and paste the following long command into the terminal. This command sets up a configuration file for apt, enabling the Firefox PPA to receive updates as they become available. Mozilla suggests getting Firefox from your operating system's repositories. The PPA option isn't the first alternative they recommend. PPAs include necessary system dependencies. If those dependencies are missing, you might get an error. If you followed the PPA steps I explained earlier and face issues, you can still go for installing Firefox in Flatpak format. Mozilla suggests this as an alternative to the version in your distro's repositories. The steps I explained earlier are not enough to completely get rid of snaps and prevent them from sneaking back in without your knowledge. This is particularly relevant for Linux distributions that use Ubuntu's repository packages as a foundation. It doesn't apply to all of them. You don't need to worry about Linux Mint in its 3 Ubuntu-based editions, the risk is low. No intervention is needed for Bodhi Linux either, as it employs the same approach as Linux Mint. However, it's crucial to take extra steps to block snaps in Pop! OS, Zorin OS, and Elementary OS. The Linux Mint team provides a good example of how to handle this, and that's the method we'll follow. Linux Mint has made a change to how apt behaves by adding a file in its preferences. This file is located at etc apt preferences.d nosnap.pref. To stop packages in the repositories from making snap get installed, this file blocks snapd from being installed via apt. Technically, the file assigns a negative priority value to the snapd package. Here's the easiest and most straightforward way to create the file with the needed content. Open Nano, the text editor in the Linux shell, with the root privileges needed to write sudo nano etc apt preferences.d nosnap.pref. Now, copy the following block of text and paste it into the terminal editor. Press Ctrl-O and Enter to save the file, then Ctrl-X to close the editor, and finally close the terminal. After restarting your computer, it won't be possible to install Snap programs without your consent. If you decide to change your mind about using Snap, you can do it easily. First, delete the nosnap.pref file using the command sudo rm etc. apt preferences.d nosnap.pref. Then, simply reinstall Snap with the following command sudo apt install snapd. The Snap Store app is installed with the following command sudo snap install snap store. I've mentioned from the start that this guide on removing and blocking snaps is one of the trickier ones I've shared. It's up to you to decide if it's worth going through all these steps. There's a risk that systems based on Ubuntu from version 24.04 onwards could be affected by the actions described. It might be worthwhile to consider switching to Linux Mint, Debian, or another option that might be simpler for you. If you found value in the step-by-step instructions and insights provided in this guide, consider subscribing to my channel for additional tech tips and Linux-related content. Your support enables me to consistently create valuable content for the community.